Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
We've had a day.
We have had quite a day. I think the mistake is always, if you're going to travel on Friday the 13th, you have to expect what we had happen.
So we are on the Disney Wish, the beautiful Disney Wish. She is beautiful.
She is.
We were supposed to do a snippet our last cruise that we had like 6 weeks ago, and we didn't.
Yeah.
So now we decided to give the people a snippet.
Yeah. We're overdue.
Give the people what they're asking for.
That's right.
I don't know that you're asking for this, but you're getting it. So, and as I get comfortable, don't mind me. So we are in our stateroom. We have to go pick up Blake in 15 minutes. We have ordered room service donuts, and they're here.
They're probably
so
here.
Hold, please. So the donuts arrived. So obviously you can order breakfast donuts for room service, but room service will deliver if you're gluten-free donuts. And my son happens to love the cinnamon sugar gluten-free donuts. And he did not get dessert tonight because of his choice, but wanted dessert, but also wanted to go to the kids club. So we ordered him cinnamon donuts. We ordered us cinnamon donuts, and that is what arrived at 8 o'clock at night. And he's going to have a cinnamon donut before he goes to bed.
And he will love them.
And I'm going to steal a baby bite.
Yeah.
Okay, so this day, Friday the 13th, we're on the Disney Wish. The line for parking was absolutely insane. And then, after we had waited in line for 20 minutes, it occurred to us that we didn't have our passports.
Yep. So we had a bit of a scramble.
It just was like a light bulb going off.
We had pictures of our passports, but not the actual passports.
Because they were forgotten at home.
And so Christy jumped out while we were coming up to the front of the line to ask, what do we do? Are the pictures of the passports okay? What do we do? And then we swung around to the parking garage, just kind of wait out in the front. And then they said that, unfortunately, the pictures of the passports aren't good enough. However, oddly enough, a picture of your birth certificate would be acceptable, which makes no sense to us why one would be accepted and the other would not.
And then they were like, it's government issued. We're like,
It's vital records.
And then they used the words, it's vital records. And we're like, I don't see how one is, but okay, like I was totally okay with the lady. And she said, I know, I don't understand. But, and she's like, is there anybody that you can get into your house? And I don't know why it didn't occur to me right away that there is somebody with a key to our house that is local. And then that she said, do you have a copy of it? And so that was the first thing, is I wondered if Dave had copies in his little online business.
Which we had Blake's because we had just renewed his passport, and to make it easier, we had done it because we had renewed his passport.
We had to check in for a cruise.
And we had to check in for a cruise, and so we needed the documentation. So I'd uploaded his, but I didn't have yours or mine. So fortunately, one of our neighbors
has
a key and was home.
And actually, they were not home.
Right.
Their daughter-in-law was house sitting and dog sitting. And so the daughter-in-law, who we still don't know her name, took the key and
went to our
house and found the box. And then I don't have a real birth certificate, apparently.
Yeah, you have a birth certificate card.
I have a birth certificate card for Michigan, and it is not even a birth certificate. It is a birth record.
It has a seal on it, though.
It has a seal.
Which is, I think, what the key aspect of that was.
And it's a birth record, though.
Right.
It's not even a birth certificate. Whatever, it worked. So we had to email it. The people at the port were so nice. At first, we thought we were just going to drive home and get it. But honestly, so much time had wasted. It didn't occur to me that we would have been very tight to get back in time. But then once we didn't know, I didn't have a real birth certificate. All these documents, and it wasn't in there. And we don't know where my real birth certificate, if we even ever got one. We just don't know. And so then it was way too late to drive back because it was already like 2 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
So we get this birth certificate card, and she says, or birth record card, and they're like, she first says it's going to be good. Then, and so we were all excited, but then she said, I think it's going to be good. So then we were all nervous again.
Yeah.
Blake was like losing
Falling
his
apart.
little tiny baby mind.
Yeah.
And whatever. It all worked. We got on board. And the people at the port were mostly so nice. There was one lady who was like, I thought she was going home. It was like really funny. But everybody else was amazingly nice. And
they basically took pictures of the pictures, and they printed them up, took pictures of them to upload them into the system, and then said, all right, you're checked in, you're good.
And make sure you have this copy of these records when you leave the ship, which we were like, oh yeah. Okay, so whatever, that was done. And then we get to our cabin, and it's just really crowded anyway, but that's even besides the point. We get to our cabin, and it smells like mildewy. Dave smells
like fishy, mildewy.
Fish outdoor fresh smell, which is like a term we've coined when you're running outside and you've got like the stinky air all over you. So it's not real fresh.
Yeah.
And then
so Blake and I had gone down to register at the kids club. They sent you out of the room and said they were going to do a deionization something. They were going to, and we couldn't be in the room.
And then they'd bring us an air purifier. And it's so funny because the air purifier, it didn't really work, the deionization. And then they like sprayed stuff while we were at dinner. Whatever, we're just going to have our stinky room. But they did give us an air purifier, and they did, but then it like was blocking everything. It's huge. It's like 2.5 feet tall at least.
Yeah.
And like
with
2
a
feet
short,
wide.
It's decent for it, but it's a shorter plug, which means you can't really just put it anywhere in the room because there aren't plugs anywhere in the room.
Right, it'd have to like block all of the drawers, basically.
Yeah.
All of the 2 drawers you get in this cabin.
Yeah.
I know this story is just so much, but it is.
So then we had to get an extension cord.
So the guy's like, well, you have to go to guest services to check out the extension cord.
Like, no.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that today. Like, well, no. And no, thank you. And then the manager had come earlier, so I was like, if you can call the manager. I said, I'll sign whatever you want. Just, like, bring it if you can, and I will sign it. And then a cord came. But in the middle of that, we had sort of a dinner issue. Mm-hmm. I promise it's not going to all be negative. But with my food restriction, it's just really important that we have space for dinner. And we were at a table that would fit like a person to join another family. It was a
combined table. It wasn't a separate table.
It wasn't a separate table.
It was a family of 4. I think it was 2 adults and 2 kids.
No, it was like 5 because it was an odd number.
Oh, right.
It was going to be 3, and then there was 3 random seats, like at the very end, sticking into an aisle. And it's just a reminder for Seize the Adventure. Sticking into the aisle, it was like the last Witch Cruise. I actually thought we had like a worse, like the worst table that you could find on the ship in Arendelle, at least. This table was worse.
Yeah.
and it felt, it was like a long day. And we were at 1923. We were hungry. And 1923 was literally going to be the only sit-down dinner I was going to go to, and that's already changed because they sat us with the most amazing serving team. They moved us, and this is kind of a funny story, but they sat us with the most amazing serving team, and I think this was the quickest meal we've ever had in a restaurant because we arrived super late too.
Yep.
We were so quick. So they came back during the meal and said, this is where you're going to be for this like table number is where you'll be for the rest of the cruise. And he said that the people who were supposed to be at this table that they put us at were at Palo, and that they went and checked, like, do you think you're going to return to dinner tomorrow? And the people at the table were like, well, yeah, we're either going to come to dinner, like, we either want to come to late dinner.
One, we're not sure.
Yeah, or we might, like, try to do Palo or do late. And it seems that this, like, these restaurant manager people, like, basically talked them into, like,
Shift
how
them to
much
late.
better it would be for them to come to late dinner from now on. And so, and then they agreed to just that late dinner sounded like the right answer. So then we had this table. So they're like, this is your table now. And
The meal was amazing.
the meal was like
It's our favorite meal.
the best 1923 meal
Yeah.
of all. Like, the steak was hot, the green beans were hot, the potatoes. Everybody, listen. If you don't remember from previous stories, and I have heard reports that people remember, but I'm going to remind you again. If you were at 1923 and you are getting the filet, order, or whatever you're getting, order the potatoes from the lamb. They're, what are they called?
Dauphinoise potatoes.
Call them potatoes au gratin, if you're me.
Dauphinoise.
If you're not going to say dauphinoise.
Yeah, ooh, that was good.
Thanks. Never going to say that again. They're creamy. They're buttery.
Just they're cheesy, creamy, but not super cheesy, but they're just perfect au gratin potatoes. They're so good.
Perfect potatoes.
And they go so well with the filet. I don't know why they didn't do it with the filet to begin with.
They should have.
It should just be the potato. Whatever dish you're ordering,
right.
That's the potato you get.
So the serving team, I was going to skip Marvel, which is what I did. Oh, and Dave has to go get Blake. I was going to...
I'll go get him. You want to wrap up by yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. We're going to go get Blake. So I was going to skip Marvel, which is what I did on the last Wish Cruise. And it was kind of perfect. Like, I got to have quick service food. I got to watch TV. I got to shop during dinner. I got to do, like, just whatever I wanted. And he's going to go outside. We're going to pause while he goes outside. So I just got to do my own thing. I got to skip the show at Marvel because it's a little bit loud, but it's really clever and funny. So when people hear me saying I would skip Marvel, it's really just because I've seen it and I can do something else. But it does make me laugh. So our serving team, though, was so good. And there's a new entree of a pork tenderloin that wasn't beef tenderloin that wasn't on the menu last year when we were on the Wish. And so I am gonna go to Marvel tomorrow because they're just like, come to dinner, we want to serve you, and you all need to come. And so whatever, I'm gonna go to dinner. And then I think that's it. Blake has his cell phone with him in the kids club, so he was texting us to say, hey, come pick me up please at 8:20. So that is what Dave went and did. Technically Blake can check himself out at this age, but we've had him check out before and either come right up the elevator, so he could do all that. But the ship seemed pretty crowded and we didn't walk him the path yet of this is how you would get off the elevator and then get to our cabin. So we will probably do that in future times. Just another thing about sort of crowds here, the check-in. So I went to check if Blake wanted to go to the tree lighting that was at 7:45 today in the lobby, and I forgot he had his phone and I could just text him and ask him. But he ultimately decided he didn't want to go. The line, so this would have been at 7:20, so right after dinner, in between the dinner services, right? The line was upstairs 20 some people deep, and downstairs it was 20 some people deep. And when we were on in September, in theory they had a separate line to do check-in so that people could check in, because there's the kids have to get their magic band and there's a whole bunch of things that have to occur, and they double check what your security word is and just stuff like that. And this time they just had that same line, and because people are still doing the long check-in stuff and it's a busy time of year, or busy time of the cruise, it was just such a long line. So that's fine. I guess I would just tell people to pack your patience. At dinner, because Blake left in the middle of our dinner service, it wasn't a big deal to go check in at the kids club because there was like nobody there. And so it took like a minute, and Dave had to come right back. So I guess just remember to pack your patience with that kind of thing. I guess that's it for the now. Oh, I guess we'll talk about Seize the Adventure. Seize the Adventure is just the happiest little stage show. Tonight, I have decided, because it's just sort of been, my long day, that I'm just gonna not go to Seize the Adventure, even though I love it. And we are gonna read in our stateroom. We're gonna have Blake here in a minute with his donut, and he'll watch some TV, and then soon he'll drink his milk. Tomorrow I have to run 6 miles as part of my training program for Wine and Dine. So in the morning, I am actually going to have to go to the gym for the first time on the Wish, because as we know, there's no running track here, and we'll be in Nassau tomorrow. And then the next day, as of now, Blake has indicated that he would like to run the 5K with me at Castaway. We did not bring sneakers for Dave, which he's probably happy about. So he will not be running with us. So Blake and I will run the 5K, and then I need to do another 5K for my training program. I'm trying to do 2 back-to-back 10Ks on this cruise. And because Wine and Dine is in 3 weeks. So I'm curious if this music is coming through. Like, it's sort of like some crazy rap-ish type music right now. It's really funny. It's threw me off. Oh, also, so we have the stateroom TV on because we love listening to the ship music while in our cabin. But I also love how they've made it sort of like how on the Fantasy and the Dream they have those what are they called? The porthole, the magic porthole. They've made the screen in your stateroom like a magic porthole, where they have like Dumbo flying through. They have Captain Marvel flying. They had some other Marvel person like running across the bottom of the screen just a few minutes ago, like when the song started. It's so cute. Oh, Spider-Man just flopped through the screen. So it's just clever. It's stuff like that just makes you so love Disney. And then it's stuff where the table is like standing in an aisle where you'd have to sit in a very crowded table with food allergy next to a child, rightfully so, eating his bread in such a manner that bread is everywhere. Because why would this child think to control his bread? He's a small child, which is more about my dinner story, which might not be making total sense, but that's who like we would have to sit next to. And that's just complicated for somebody that if they have a crumb on their plate of bread, they will be very ill. So it's been a night. It's been a day. I cannot believe I left our passports at home, you guys. All right, so this is the first night of the snippet. It's not too much of a story. Maybe Blake will come on and tell us about his kids club experience. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone. Again.
Hello again.
So, in true David and Christy fashion, we didn't record any more snippets. No. But this time, we're not waiting like a week and a half to record our snippets. It's the same day we got off the ship.
Yeah.
Same day. It is October 16th, which is the Disney 100th. That's kind of exciting. They didn't have any Disney 100 stuff on the ship.
No, which is a little surprising.
Maybe because of Halloween, or maybe because it wasn't the 100th yet?
Maybe.
I wonder if they will.
Well, one would have thought they would have like decked out 1923 at least to be fancy or something.
Right, because, 100 years ago, 1923.
That's right.
That would have been super cool if we had finished our rotation in 1923, which is what we've done every single cruise but this one, so that we could have gone to breakfast, which we never would have gone to be in 1923. Yeah. Over the Disney on the 100th. Yeah. That would have been cool. But our breakfast would have been at 7:05 in the morning.
That was never happening.
That was never happening. Ever. Okay. So let's talk about this cruise. And as a reminder, we might talk a little bit about a Labor Day cruise, or like what we did. But I don't know that it was a whole lot different. You know, I don't have any recollection from the Labor Day cruise of what we did on the Nassau day.
I think it was very similar. We just kind of just sat. I don't think we didn't get off the ship, obviously. And I think Blake was in the kids club the whole day.
Yeah, so on this October cruise, Blake was in the kids club the entirety of the day, basically.
Yeah.
I had to get up and run, and I had to run on the treadmill, which if anybody does interval work or if they do a run-walk method, that treadmill is a little bit tough. I did ask for help, and I would just maybe suggest, if somebody hasn't used it, just to ask, because I wasted a bunch of time trying to figure it out, and I should have just asked for help sooner. So I ran 6 miles on the treadmill, which I'm pretty slow, so I was staring at like that new Nassau building. That's what we did on the last cruise, though. We went to Palo because we stared at that same building.
Yes.
At Palo Brunch, which Palo Brunch was delicious.
It was.
You know, it's tough with the new $50 price tag and like the having to order the food and having maybe bigger plates. And it's a struggle because the buffet is obviously no longer for the last several years, and I think they've sort of made peace and filled it in, and for the most part are selling out brunch. And so what would be their motivation to bring it back?
Right.
But the price went up. It's $50. $50 a person if you're paying for that.
I don't know
for
if brunch is worth it, yeah.
I just don't know. Steak, the dinner, which we did end up experiencing yesterday, really was...
It's amazing.
It is like a high-end steakhouse that we would spend $250 at here. Yeah. And so to spend it $50, which if you have 10 or more cruises, more than 10 cruises, and you're platinum, you actually get Palo included, which I feel like as there are more platinum cruisers, they should probably just give you the credit and let you go to Enchante if you wanted, you know, or to Palo. But so they give you that money, and so we only have to pay for gratuities, which, new fun fact. I guess I'm going out of order because now I'm talking about just Palo instead of the rest of Saturday. But Dave had to go. Blake wanted his costume yesterday, so he left while I squared up the bill. And our server was off, like, on her next table. Not a big deal. She just hadn't come back around yet. And so the restaurant manager or whatever had walked by, and our bill was messed up. We only had one of us. Only one $50 came off and not two. But Dave orders a la carte and doesn't order off of the
fixed price.
Prefix.
Prezzo Fiso.
Yeah, Prezzo Fiso menu. And so I was like, so did the rules change? Do we not get both $50? And he's like, oh, no. You have to get, you both, it's, you know, everybody gets $50 off. And he said that there's something about the machine that makes them miss it. So I guess my point is, make sure you look at your bill. And
get full credit.
Make sure that every adult in your stateroom, if one person gets Palo included, that every adult in your stateroom gets Palo included.
Yep.
So, and then our server had told us, which I think I was starting to say earlier, I'm so tired today, you guys. But our server had told us that, so there is the 18% gratuity added, but I don't think it's added to brunch.
I don't seem to remember it being added to brunch either.
So I think it's included in brunch, but now we know more. So that 18% service charge or whatever is split amongst your server, amongst the host and the restaurant manager, which I don't think he should
odd.
get.
Yeah, that's unusual that would happen like that, but it is.
And so now I'm even more inclined to give an additional gratuity.
Because she said any additional gratuity beyond that goes directly to the server alone.
Yeah.
So that was actually good to know. So if you really liked your server and want to give them extra, anything extra you give does go directly to them and doesn't get split.
Right.
So you know it's going to good cause.
And they're not getting all of the 18% that's otherwise on that bill.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Saturday morning, I ran, and because I'm slow, it take forever. So then Blake eventually went to the kids club, and Dave went to Marceline Market to order me food. And all of this was thought of in my head because on the last cruise we went to Palo, and this cruise I ran, and I really like the Eggs Benedict, but at Palo. But I can get Eggs Benedict at
Marceline Market.
So breakfast was going till 10:45, and I really wanted Eggs Benedict, and I thought I would be done running at 10:45, but there were issues with my headphones, and I got down there a little bit late, and I couldn't figure out the treadmill at first, and every time you would pause the treadmill for more than a minute, it would just stop and clear out everything so whatever. I had to restart a few times, but it was all fine. And then so Dave our server the night before at dinner had said, because they always ask me for my gluten-free if I'm going to order breakfast or lunch, and on that day I wasn't, because I don't I'm perfectly capable. It all works itself out to get
you can find someone in Marceline Market, and
right.
You can and he had suggested, he said it goes to 10:45, but get there at 10:30, because oftentimes by 10:45 any chef that would be doing the gluten-free stuff or the allergy stuff has left to go on break
or whatever.
They've already prepared all the food they're going to prepare for breakfast, so they're not going to be there to prepare anything. So he said get there at 10:30 so that to make sure that the chef is still there to be able to actually prepare the food that you need prepared.
Yeah.
So I went in and I found a white shirt person. I always want to look for the servers, the head waiters that are all wearing the white shirts in Marceline Market. And I just said, I need to place an allergy order. So he went and he got you want to make sure they grab the pink slip, the little pink sheet. I said it was for Christy. Now, the thing was, she originally thought she was going to be done at 10:30, and then because of all the issue, 10:45, but because of all the issues with the treadmill, she texted me and said, probably closer to 11. So I put the order in, and I gave stateroom number and her name, and then I said, if there's a way to just, keep it under hot plate or something until 11, that's around when she'll come up. This is important because what he did to try and help us was he kind of waited to put it in and tried to have it ready by 11, but he let it be in there. And he did say he told somebody that person was coming for the breakfast at 11. But then there was a miscommunication where somebody else saw this food sitting there, didn't really ask anyone, said, I think they asked somebody and said, they never showed up. And so they threw away Christy's breakfast.
And that was my prize.
That was her prize for running all on the treadmill. So when she finally arrived, he said, I'm going to go check. And he disappeared for a very long time. And then our head waiter came in, and he started to help us to try and figure out what was going on. And then the original guy I'd ordered with came back out and said, yeah, it got thrown out. So he was going to make it fresh for her.
And then our head waiter came out and said, so there's an issue with
the Bernaise.
The Bernaise sauce from the hollandaise sauce, actually, not Bernaise, hollandaise.
He kept saying Bernaise, but I thought that's right. It was hollandaise.
And they said, so it's just been thrown out already. And I go, what about at Palo? Can you go and steal some from there? Because I always get Eggs Benedict at Palo. And then, lo and behold, 5 or 10 minutes later, I had Eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce. And I presume, I did not ask, that he got it from Palo.
Yes.
So that was good. And then they can make you gluten-free hash browns. And so I had a couple of those, and it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Did your toast ever show up too? Did they give you toast?
Well, I didn't want additional toast. I think this was that one day I had at my work where I had all this breakfast. I wanted the toast that was in the Eggs Benedict.
Oh, I thought you wanted
toasted.
additional toast.
So, but one of those pieces of toast were so good. They did come. And I took that toast and I put it on my untoasted Eggs Benedict.
There you go.
Because they never want to toast that bread. So anyway, that was fine.
Yeah.
And I ate one of the pieces of bread.
And while she was eating, I went and got Blake and then dropped him off. And then I went and got he and I some food. So we got him pizza.
No, he got hot dogs that day.
Oh, that's right. He got hot dogs that day. So we got him hot dogs and French fries. I got the barbecue from the family fair, friends family fair, whatever it's called, friendship fair. And came back in and we ate our dinner, or our lunch rather. And I got him a couple of fruit bowls, which he liked.
Yeah. So that all worked out well. And then we went back to the room. I showered.
He went back to the kids club.
He went back to the kids club.
He was pulled out only for meals.
Yeah, on this day. And I took the largest nap in that bed. The bed on the Wish is the best bed in the whole world.
It's very comfortable.
It's so comfortable. The bedding is comfortable. The bed is comfortable. I joked, could we just take this bed? Like, would they notice? Maybe take the comforter. Do you think I'll be like, oh, I always carry around my comforter. Just walk away with it. I didn't take the comforter,
no.
But I wanted it. Okay, so that is what we did that day.
Yeah.
We lazed about. And then I was supposed to skip Marvel, but our waiter...
Well, we had the whole kerfuffle with the table, and they had worked so hard to get us that new table. I think you felt a little guilty by saying, well, I'm just not going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
When they went through this whole rigmarole to get us this table. So you agreed.
Including talking people out of returning to it.
Exactly. And so I think you're just like, okay, I'm just going to... And I think you even said to me, I might just show up, have like the appetizers, and then just leave and go have a regular meal. But you ended up staying the whole time, and
was fine.
You read.
I did read
during Marvel. We're watching the Marvel show, and you're just sitting there reading on your phone.
They were watching Marvel, and I am reading this book that I am just so interested in, and they weren't talking. Which is fine, right? Because they had the little scenes going.
I mean, every now and then we'd exchange.
And I would look up. It was them talking about Marvel. This is not my meal, but it was fine. And I will say, every time, Paul Rudd's character's name?
Ant-Man.
Every time Ant-Man would come on, I would look up, and it really is funny.
Paul Rudd is just so funny. He's so entertaining.
Ant-Man is very funny and entertaining.
Yes. Ant-Man is very entertaining.
He's very funny. It's very clever. I have said this all along.
And the Wasp, the interplay between the Wasp and Ant-Man is very good.
Oh, yeah, that was funny, too. It's clever. I have always said that. And this time, the beef was different. For sure, there was a ribeye a year ago.
They swapped it out for beef tenderloin.
And it was good.
I feel like it's a smaller portion, but to be honest, with all of the different appetizers and things, it was fine. It was a good amount of food. Oh, and I got the cheese bite. It's like bite cheesecake or something like that. BYTE for computer stuff. It's really, really good. It's like a light strawberry cheesecakey type thing, but it's really tasty. So I do recommend that.
That is not gluten-free.
Oh, and then I also had my birthday cake.
Oh, yeah. They sang happy birthday because Dave's birthday is in 2 days.
Yep.
So that was a good day. And then afterwards, we met one of podcast listeners and Patreons who was on the ship with his family. So we met in the bayou, and they had a drink, and we listened to music.
Yeah,
there wasn't actually music
nice
when we started talking, but then there was music. And it was just a really nice time. We got to talk about some of their favorite cruises and just different things like that. And we got to leave our cabin.
Yep.
But then we went back to our cabin.
Well, no, I went and got a haircut.
Oh, yeah.
I went
back to the cabin.
Yeah, you went back to the cabin to read. I went to Hook's Barbery. I was at a gap where it was like I could have waited till after the cruise to get my haircut, but I said, you know what? I've never gotten a haircut on the ship. They have this whole Hook's Barbery thing for men. Why not give it a try? And so Christy got me an appointment at 8:15 in the evening.
Apparently appointments are only from 5 to 8 or 5 to 8:30 or something.
Yeah, it was really strange.
Because that's, I feel like what the bartender said, and I think he said it's because of the bar.
Yeah.
I don't really know if any of that's true.
Because it also, my appointment crossed over to some sort of like whiskey tasting
I don't know how I feel about that.
Which was very odd. Because I'm sitting there trying to relax and then hearing all this stuff about different single malt scotches and whiskeys and all that and how they're made.
And people who have
And people who have a lot of opinions about such things.
of knowledge that are not the presenter.
Exactly.
Because I went to see Dave.
So it was, I kind of went a little overboard with it. I'm not.
You did not. You deserve
Yeah.
it. When
Well.
all these cruises, and how many times you've been in the spa? Like twice?
And that was only really to see you. So I think I got massages.
This is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
back in the day.
But normally I am not a big. I know there's some men that do go all in for like hairstyle type things. I go in. It's like usually 15-minute haircut, and I'm done. This was it was a shave. There was a facial massage, scalp massage, haircut, all the whole 9 yards, and it was actually a very nice experience. It was very, very good.
Yes, he was pampered.
I was. They did the little hot towel to open the pores. They did all these oils and things and gave me a face massage and did the haircut and then shaved, which I think that was only maybe the second time in my life another man has shaved my face. So, but it was really nice. It was really, really a good experience.
Yeah, your barber, is that what we would call him?
Yeah.
Pam was very attentive.
Yes, he was.
He was like really thorough.
He was. Yeah, Christy came and visited for a tiny bit just to see kind of what was happening.
And then I also was reading my book.
Yeah.
But I also thought he would be done soon. Like
It was over an hour.
It was longer than that, I think.
Yeah, it was. I was expecting like a 30-minute thing, and it was over an hour. So, but it was it was very good. I might do it again, but not. That wouldn't be a regular thing. It would just be something every once in a while.
Yeah, so I want to say the shave, and so I think the haircut was like $50 when I originally looked.
Yeah.
And it looks like the shave may have been $100 because it was $150 for the shave and the haircut, and then the add-on trio or whatever, which would have been the massages, was like another $50.
Yeah, which there were 3 items for $19 each, so you could do individually if you want, or then there was the final option,
What was
which
the third item? Because it was the face and head massage.
it was face head. Oh, the oils, the facial type stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it was like you could do 19, 19, 19 on any one of those 3, or if you did all 3, then it was $49. So it was cheaper.
So, and then there's obviously the gratuity and then additional gratuity. So I want to say his stuff was like $240 or something.
Yeah, right around there, yeah.
So
worth it for the level of service I got.
Oh,
I mean, I think that it was
too.
not I felt like I was cheated. Of course, I did have to deal with which Christy warned me ahead of time deal with the inevitable push of product that happens. So, of course, he laid out multiple things that he went through in detail with me on how to maintain my glow and my moisture. Of course, which I declined.
He'll be maintaining any moisture. Dave is
No.
like anti-moisture, but you should start. But I'll say, if there's like an Elmas, because that's the brand they use on Disney Cruise Line, if there's a product that you guys want, you should sign up for their emails because they have 25% off often. And then you can just get 25% off whatever item you want. And so you're not paying all that money on the ship. Yeah, you don't pay duty if you're not in port, but I still wouldn't. You're still not saving as much.
Yeah.
So save the money.
So my response to him to get out of it was, I believe that my wife has a whole bunch of this stuff already at home, so I'll have to check with her to find out what we do have. And if we're missing anything, then maybe I'll be back to get some more. And that was my little way to get out of having to buy anything.
Good job.
Thank you.
We didn't have any of it at home. That's fine.
I knew we didn't. I just was like, this is my way of saying nope.
While you were doing that, actually, I didn't go right back to the cabin until later. I went shopping for a little bit. So I walked around the one shop downstairs and then where they sell the Pandora and things like that. And then I went to the big shop upstairs and didn't buy anything this cruise. But I bought a couple things last cruise. And then that was it.
Yeah,
we went and
back
got
to the room and got Blake and
got Waters and went to bed. And that night I feel like we went to bed late every night too, like later than our normal-ish bedtime. And then Castaway Day, we got up. Blake the plan was that Blake was going to run the...
Well, all three of us were supposed to run.
Yeah.
But you and I both sort of forgot my shoes.
Yeah. I mean, I mostly pack, so pretty much I forgot your shoes. But also we had no room.
Right.
We would have had to do something different with the luggage to bring your shoes, so...
I would have had to wear my tennis shoes the whole time.
What you were never going to do.
No.
So... because we packed with 2 roller carry-on bags, plus our backpacks. And we packed up the 2 roller bags.
I think it's because you were going to do all that running that you had to have extra things. You had to have your belt, you had to have your shoes, you had to have
water bottles.
Water bottles, so...
And then we needed Blake's shoes and then Blake's beach shoes.
Yep.
So, Blake and I ran from the ship to... And basically, I turned on my phone cellular and turned on GPS. And so we had our tracking right from the ship. So we started our run at the ship.
Did you actually start running there, or did you start? Oh, cool.
Yeah, we didn't. We walked down all the stairs. We had been moving. We were fine.
Wasn't too many people.
Yeah, sometimes we had to walk and get around people, but it was fine. And then Blake would be like, "Oh, let's slow down," and so he starts so fast, like I think so many kids do, and then gets so tired quickly. So I put the intervals on, so we started being able to run to intervals, which I think was a big help. But just in case anybody's wondering, and if you're team walk instead of team tram, if you're going from the ship to the bike rack, it's 0.7 miles by itself. And so
that's a good distance.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're always team walk. So, I think the 2 times we've taken a tram, A, I think we've regretted it, but B, it's also been pouring rain.
Yeah.
So we ran it. We went down the runway over towards the adult beach. Then we went back into the 1 mile basically loop. And then Blake and I think there was one part we repeated in the front, that where there's in and out, two-lane traffic. I think we repeated that a few times to get enough miles. And then I ran Blake back to Dave at the bike rack and dropped him off. He got his medal.
Yep.
Which, how was that? Did he... Because I don't think I was there still, right? Did he go...
No, because you came and you turned right around and you went back into it. And then there was a line at the booth. So we went up and Blake said, "I ran a 5K." And he had a big grin on his face. And the guy goes, "You did? That's awesome. Here's your medal." And he gave it to the guy. He was one of the counselors. So Blake was like, he did it up for Blake. And that was really cool. That was very cool.
That is very cool.
And what was funny, because while I was waiting, I was helping this family of 6 or 7 with their bikes, because they had 2 little ones, and the dad was trying to figure something out, but his bike kept tipping over with the baby carrier on it. And it was very funny, because then the daughter at the end said, "Well, do you want to join us? Because you're kind of part of the family now."
That's cute.
Yeah, it was very cute.
Yeah, I texted Dave when Blake and I were going to be I told Dave how far it was from maybe from the drop off.
You did.
To
you did, yeah.
Oh yeah, from where he would drop, where we go to the beach.
Yeah.
So we always go
where
to
I dropped the stuff.
The first part of the beach, the first family beach. Oh, so I think the tide was up, must have been really high, because the beach chairs were up higher and they were jammed.
They were very compressed. Yeah.
There was very little walkways between. There weren't as many people, and that ship was crowded the whole time. It was very crowded, but that first family beach was kind of empty.
Well, and I
at
do
least
wonder,
that part of it.
I do wonder
it was super
too,
windy,
because it was that part of the beach was very windy. It was windy that day, but the second beach was a bit protected, and at the first beach that you encounter, it was so windy that they weren't allowing people to put the umbrellas up. So I do wonder at the beginning. It was later after lunch people were able to do it, but I do wonder if that made people go further down to get to where you could open umbrellas to get the shade. And
you couldn't snorkel in the regular snorkel lagoon either. So because it was so windy.
Yep.
It was really windy.
Yeah.
But part of that was nice on the run.
It was a beautiful day to sit pleasant. And enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I got Blake down to the beach. We started building some sandcastles, and you finished your run, came met us, and you went in the water and then built some sandcastles too.
Yep.
And then we went and had lunch. Normal, everyday cookies, one lunch.
And then Blake wanted to go to the kids club, but then he wasn't sure if he was going to have fun at the kids club. So we said that I would check on him. And so I went, like, after lunch to the bathroom and then shopping a little bit. And then also I had gotten a rub spot from my sports bra.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to first aid, and they had some petroleum jelly that he helped me. It was the actual doctor was there. I'm like, this doctor is putting petroleum jelly on my back. Like, this is his medical calling to put petroleum jelly on my back. So he put some petroleum jelly because I couldn't reach it that well. So he did that. And then I went and checked on Blake, and he said, nope, I'm having fun. I want to stay. So then Dave and I just read on the beach.
Some virgin strawberry, mango daiquiris, and read on the beach, and it was very pleasant.
The drink prices have gone up because I definitely used to get Blake and Dave the virgin strawberry daiquiri, and it was like $5.50, and now, or like $5 or something, and now it's like $7. So there's drink inflation, much like everything else. Oh, you guys, by the way, I got coffees every day this trip because I was lazy. So when I went to run, it was like the elevators were just jammed. I felt like all the time. And I didn't feel like going from, I guess that wouldn't have been that bad, from deck 7 to deck 11 to get my included coffee. And I needed to go to the gym on 5, and there was that coffee bar.
Right there on 5. Like, literally, we were at the elevator 2 floors down, right there.
You, like, go forward a tiny bit, and there's the coffee bar. So I just went and I got a true espresso because I was like, I need something to get my coffee very quickly. I had 2 shots. He put an ice cube in it so I could drink it quicker because they didn't have temperature control.
Oh, yeah.
And I went on away. And then the next day I got coffee. Also, same sort of lazy reason. I just wanted coffee quickly, and I could run down 2 flights, grab my coffee, run back up.
How much better is it
ready.
than the included coffee?
Oh my God.
Is there a noticeable difference?
It's the included coffee's sole job is to give you caffeine. It is not
a caffeine vehicle.
It is not tasty. It is not a lovely, relaxing experience. I'm bummed too because the second day my coffee had a cute Disney wish, like they do that foam imprint, but I didn't have my phone, and I drank my coffee before and there was like a stick, and then I moved the stick, and then the imprint was not there anymore by the time I had a phone. So we drank that before I went on a run. And then the last morning, once again, but the deck 5 coffee was closed, so I had to go to deck 4 coffee. But it was fine. And I got my coffee. So everybody who's team buy your coffee, I joined you this time.
Yeah.
But it was because I was lazy. Laziness won. And I wasn't drinking any alcohol, so that part was less expensive throughout the trip.
I forgot to tell you this morning. It was interesting because I was comparing this to last time. Last time when we disembarked, it was a bit of a cluster because it was at the same time as the breakfast was swapping around. And so people were getting confused about what line to be in. So we got in a line and suddenly, and we were winding, and suddenly realizing we were winding right back to 1923.
Oh, no.
And we were in the wrong line. Today, they actually had signs and they had officers to direct people around which way was the correct line to get in.
Also,
and it was much, much, much better handled.
When we were leaving the ship, they had the 3 lines for 3 checkout stations, which they only had 2 checkout stations.
That's right. So they seemed a bit better organized now.
Yes.
Especially compared to last time we were there.
The line wasn't as long. I mean, I don't really know how long you were in the line because, again...
It was not that long at all.
I didn't go in it. I just waited for you.
Which is our typical. Our typical
now
is that
our new way.
You go get your coffee, Blake and I make our way down to the line, and then you join us right at the exit.
Yep. And then we used our paper passports. I guess we have to finish yesterday, but for leaving, we'll just stick with leaving really quick. We used our paper birth certificates, rather, to leave the ship.
And it worked.
It worked just fine.
We gave our IDs, and he just kind of like, he wished me a happy birthday and then said, we were on our way. So it was nice.
So dumb. My birth record was sufficient. I have to still figure that birth certificate situation out. Okay, so the rest of yesterday, though, Blake played, we read at the beach. It was great because it was like less people at that point. And we walked back to the ship because we're team walk.
Yep.
And it was really nice day.
It was a gorgeous day.
Breezy, nice. And then we all showered. Mm-hmm. Blake took a bath.
Yep.
And he played his game a little bit. Oh, we always get, it seems, room service, Mickey bars at Castaway on Castaway Day. So we did that.
Well, and you guys stocked up on donuts.
They gave us like extra gluten-free donuts.
You guys got a box each of cinnamon and powdered sugar gluten-free donuts.
I might not have said all of that on the podcast.
Oh, sorry. Well, it's not like you guys finished them. We brought them home because they were awesome.
That is even worse.
That's not worse. It's better. You guys get to have some fun enjoyment.
We do have donuts now at home, which we are so excited about.
I mean, your boy had way more than you did of them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Some of them you only got like one bite, and then he's like, "No, Mama, that's mine."
He loves those gluten-free donuts, which is awesome.
And you and I also got, was it yesterday or the day before that we got the cheese tray?
It was 2 days ago.
It was Saturday, right?
Yes.
We were a little hungry, and we're like, we need some food. And so we got double cheese trays, and Blake even had some of the cheese, too.
He did. And
they had gluten-free crackers.
Yep.
It was nice.
So if you have an allergy, keep that in mind. The room service attendant remembered the gluten-free from both days, and I swear that she, like, knew it before I even really finished saying it from our cruise from a month before.
Yeah. There were a couple people on the ship that remembered us and were like, oh, yeah.
Well, there was one head waiter who was the waiter in concierge a year ago. And when we were waiting on our breakfast, she came up and talked to us, waiting on my breakfast Saturday morning. She came up to talk to us.
And then you saw her at Marvel, I think.
Yes.
You saw her.
And then we saw her at Marvel.
And you stopped and asked her.
And I was like, were you the concierge like head waiter? And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and that was 13 months ago that we were in concierge, and she remembers.
Well, and I can tell you that we get it all the time at the kids club.
Oh yeah.
All of them are like, you're on here a lot, aren't you? Because we remember Blake. And I mean, Blake is a memorable kid.
He's very cute.
Yeah.
So.
And then we did Paolo. We had Blake. Trick or treating.
Okay, trick-or-treating, guys. So it was on a separate night because on the Magic, friend of the show, Shannon Ford, told us that it was on the same night for her, where Pirate Night and trick-or-treating was on the same night. Ours were on different nights, so that was good. But my God, there were a lot of people. Oof. Like the entirety of the upper deck, the pool deck, was filled with people. And so trick-or-treating was at 5 o'clock. And what's interesting is we looked for information about trick-or-treating the first night of the cruise, and it wasn't in the app that I could tell.
Yeah.
But then it was added, and maybe they had to, like, figure out the time and whatever.
And I'm still unclear if there were 2 trick-or-treatings or just one. I seem to think there actually was only just one trick-or-treating. Because when we called about it, or someone called us and we were asking about it, and
they were asking about our stinky room.
Yeah, they were asking about our stinky room update. And then when we were done with that, I said, just out of curiosity, is there trick-or-treating tonight? And she asked what seating we were, which made me think, well, maybe then there's like an early trick-or-treat and a late trick-or-treat.
That makes some sense.
But I think in hindsight, I think she was asking because her whole speech was, she goes, well, what you would do is you go up for trick-or-treating at 5, then you go down to dinner, and then you go back upstairs for the masquerade, and then you go to the show. And I think all of those thens was because of where the dinner was. It wasn't the trick-or-treating that was affected. The rest of it was.
So we go up to go to trick-or-treating onto Deck 11, and this woman who was dressed as Maleficent said, which good job on me for knowing that, thank you very much, said, follow me. She's like, you're here for trick-or-treating? Follow me. And so we were like, okay. So Dave's like, wait, where are we going? I'm like, Maleficent said to follow her. We're following her. Yeah. And we did. And we waited in line for like 7 people.
Yeah.
And all the other lines were like 40 people deep or
I mean,
something.
literally, it was a case where we walked up the stairs to get to deck 11, and there were people
There were
right
already
there
in lines.
in line, and that's what we were starting to get into when you saw it, when Maleficent said, "Follow me."
We followed her, and her like husband was like, come to this line or something. I still don't even entirely, thank you Maleficent if you're listening, don't entirely know what happened there, but we followed her. We waited like I said, like 7 kids at the most, and they'll give you a bag if you hadn't already gotten a bag, or they'll just give you candy if you have a bag from a different station. And they had like 4 stations, but it was like people coming from every direction.
Yeah.
And I swear one of those lines was like at least 100 people deep.
Oh, yeah.
At least. And so we're like, this was fun.
Yeah.
Blake was super excited to be in his costume. He would go up to other like Iron Man costumed people. He was Spider-Man and be like, oh, you know, I don't know.
Do little web shooter symbols.
Superhero
and all that.
business.
The one benefit was because everyone in the entire universe was in line for trick-or-treating, all of the food fair lines were completely empty.
Completely. Like
So,
not one person.
While Christy was like taking Blake through the line to get trick-or-treating, I was getting his dinner. I went to the pizza line, and she's like, well, go to pizza, and then maybe we'll figure out, French fries or whatever. And literally, I got both done.
No, I think we got, Blake and I got
Oh, yeah,
the
you
French
guys
fries.
got the French fry
You
line.
guys got you went and
I
got
got
the
pizza.
ranch.
And I got the ranch while you guys were getting the French fries. But it was like no waiting to get the
No
food.
waiting. Not one bit of waiting.
And then Blake's like, all right, I'm good. And so, okay. We went back to the room, and he had dinner.
Because he'll go trick-or-treating here on Halloween, and it was a lot. It was so much.
Even he was overwhelmed,
it
I
was
think,
a
by
lot.
all the people.
And then we went to Palo. He went to the kids club, and then he wanted his costume back for the kids club. And so Dave ran it down after dinner. And then we were up so late, because
so late.
there was Spider-Man was coming to the kids club.
Yeah.
So he had to go and meet him again.
Well, Blake kept changing his mind around getting picked up, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to be picked up. And then, well, can I have 20 more minutes? And then he wanted to get picked up again. Ooh, one thing that we forgot to share is this is we normally at Palo get our normal routine of fillets and all that stuff. And obviously we end with the chocolate souffle. Well, the server shared with us that they have a new souffle.
I don't know if it was that new.
And well, I don't think it was on the last time, because it was just the chocolate souffle and the lemon thing that Steve likes to get. From was what I remember being on the menu last time. But it's an amaretto souffle. And I said, yeah. Now, they couldn't have made it gluten-free, so we don't know if we could order it like a day before maybe and have them do it, but we asked and they just couldn't do that. But I tried it. It was actually extremely delicious. It was probably one of the best Palo meals we had.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was really, really good.
Service was fantastic.
Yep.
She really added to it.
She was on the ball.
Yeah.
She was very friendly and very just always, checking at the right times, make sure we had everything we needed.
My chocolate souffle was actually the best cooked chocolate souffle in the history of chocolate souffle. Where it was actually melty in the middle.
So good.
So good.
So, yeah. Yeah, but then we stayed up late because, like Christy said, when it was time to get Blake from the kids club, as he was leaving, they said something about Spider-Man showing up. They had closed off the Marvel room for normal kids, and it was open to everybody, and he was going to show up, and it was going to be in 15 minutes. So we got in line, texted Christy that we were doing that, and then Blake and I went in and met Spider-Man in his spider costume, and he was the only Spider-Man in line, and Spidey was so excited to see another Spider-Man. He was super excited.
That's cute. Bless you. Yep.
So when I met Spider-Man, I told him that he was my favorite hero, and then he said that I'm his favorite hero.
Oh, that's so funny.
Because I was in a Spider-Man costume.
Yep.
I love that.
The dual web shooting symbols.
Very cute. So that's our cruise.
Yeah.
We had a good cruise.
It started very stressful.
Very stressful.
But I think overall it was a very enjoyable cruise.
Very rough start to that cruise.
But now we know what happens if you forget your passports.
And everybody go stop right now. I mean, the podcast is over, but stop right now. Go and scan into your cloud whatever, your birth certificates. So that if you forget your passports, obviously you can't leave the country if you have to leave. Like, you're not flying to Europe and forgetting them. But if you forget them for your United States departure cruise, you have an option.
Yep.
Oh my God. And give your neighbor a key to your house.
Yes.
So that was it. It was fun.
Yeah, very fun. Thank you for booking it.
Yes. Thank you for having
enjoyable.
a birthday.
Yeah, it was a very fun birthday cruise. And my birthday's always around Halloween, and it's not my favorite holiday necessarily. So it's like, meh. But this is a great way to celebrate it.
Right. And you do the cooking and the dishes in our house. And so you didn't have to do cooking and dishes over the whole weekend.
For 3 days. Yeah.
So it was good.
Very nice.
All right, everyone. Thank you for coming back to listen. We will see you next time on the DCL podcast. Bye.
Bye.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.